There's a lot of things to love about Sonic games, as well as critiquing. Today, we will stay on the side of critiquing because we're going to be discussing the worst part of every Sonic game. And before you guys raid me in the comments section, we will only be doing mainline Sonic games. But first, Sonic the Hedgehog 1. And now the worst part about this game is the lack of speed and slower levels. An example would be Marble Zone. Now, this game, as every other Sonic game as well, is known for speed. Now that is interrupted by sections that force players to slow down. Now, waiting for platforms and overall just killing Sonic's speed and momentum, forcing you to take naps basically, waiting for the platform to arrive, and that is the worst. Next is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And the worst part about this game, honestly, I was pretty stuck between Metropolis Zone and the final boss, but the final boss is more of a skill issue in my opinion, so we're gonna go with Metropolis Zone. Now these levels, they are long, filled with frustrating enemy placement, and on top of that, it has 3 acts while every other zone has 2. And on top of that, getting through this level without losing rings, let alone losing a life, is damn near impossible too. Next is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, oh boy, would I have a field day with this game. But the worst part about this game, well, you're welcome to disagree with this, but the fact is that it is a slow-paced Sonic game. And yes, this could 100% be a skill issue, so if you disagree with what I said, let me know what you guys believe the worst part about this game is in the comments down below, but for me, it has to be that. In other classic Sonic games, you feel the speed, and once you play levels after a while, you get the hang of it and go even faster. But in Sonic 3, it never really arrives, at least for me. It's so slow, but there's like certain levels where you can go pretty fast. But overall, it's just a slower game than the other classic Sonic games, and that is the worst. Next is Sonic CD. Now the worst part about this game is this pinball section. If you get lucky and get past it in under a minute, please show me how. Please show me how, because I spend a minimum of 2 minutes on this section every time. Next is Sonic Adventure. Now the worst part about this game, now after beating Sonic Adventure pretty recently, my opinions have definitely changed. And it may be controversial because what most people believe the worst in this game is Big the Cat. But after further testing, I believe that has been overtaken by one thing, and that one thing is the camera. The camera in this game is god-awful. And, well, to be honest, many games during this time did have poor camera, like Super Mario 64 had a poor camera, but for God's sake, I should need like 5 camera mods just to make the camera somewhat usable in this game. Next is Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, the beloved Sonic Adventure 2. The worst part about this game, that it is plagued with the worst parts being Tails and Eggman. Those levels, not the character. The characters are great. The characters are great in this game, but the levels that these two share, oh my god, I would have rather had 5 tornado levels or an Eggman in the sky type of level than these mech levels. They're so bad, they're so slow, such a bad part of such a great game. Next is Sonic Heroes. Now, the worst part about this game is the repetition. Now, there are 4 stories in this game, but there is one recurring theme: the stages. While the stages might be different in their own ways, like Shadows and Sonic stages are different. Now, I don't believe they are different enough for me to replay the story 4 times to get to the real final part. Next is Shadow the Hedgehog. Now the worst part about this game is the amount of times you have to quote-unquote beat the game until you get to the true ending. Now this is also kind of the same reason as Heroes, but in this game it is so much worse because instead of like 4 times that you gotta replay the game, you have to beat it so many more times. I think it's like minimum 8 times that you gotta play the game or beat the game until you get to the true ending with Super Shadow. Next is Sonic 06. Now, the worst part about there's so many things in this game that I could consider the worst part. So let me know if you can disagree. But I feel like there's worse parts about this game, but like there's been things that have been so bad, but they've been fixed in like the fan project P06. But there's one thing that can never be changed about this game, and that is this. Next is Sonic and the Secret Rings. Now the worst part about this game, now we can go the usual route and talk about the controls. But let's instead talk about an issue I truly believe kills games for me. And for me, in this game, is the mission structure. Now the levels themselves are fine, but then it's the part after the level that is the worst, because instead of there being like an act 2 of some sort, it's just a challenge. And the thing is, the game doesn't tell you which one of these missions or challenges unlocks the next zone. So you just kind of have to pick and choose until you get the right one, and it finally says, you've unlocked the next zone. Like, what the hell is that? Next is the also glorious Sonic Unleashed. Now, even the best has a part that is the worst, and this game is no exception to flaws. But the worst part is collecting medals. Now, I could say the tornado levels, but that's just 2 levels out of the whole game. Meanwhile, you gotta collect these medals all throughout the game, and I can't tell y'all how many times I've had to go back and level simply because I missed a few medals and it won't let me progress because I need 10 more for the next stage. Next is Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, the worst part about this game is the button layout. Now, I remember this game being one of the few games I own that required the nunchuck, which is fine because I already had one and I had a great experience playing Super Mario Galaxy, but you play a few levels with the button layout in this game and it's like, why is there 3 buttons? Bind it to 1 button. Next is Sonic Colors. Now, the worst part about this game, there are 2 routes I could go with this, but this game is a pretty good game. Lots of stages, and I mean lots of them. Lots of 2D stages, which, I mean, it's okay, but there's a lot of it. But today, we're not making that the worst part of this game, because instead, we're going to be criticizing the fact that you basically replay bosses multiple times, which really sucks, because this game would have been so much better without repeated bosses, and each zone had their own unique boss. Next is Sonic Generations. Now, the worst part about this game is its length. Now, a lot of modern Sonic games suffer from this, but they did try to pad the game a little bit with the extra side missions and whatnot. But if I'm being honest, this game is perfect level-wise, but I wouldn't be angry if there was 5 more main stages to this game. So next is Sonic 4 Episode 1. Now, the worst part about this game, I don't want to hear any arguments, is the physics. The physics in this game are horrible. Like, why is this even possible? Next is Sonic 4 Episode 2. The worst part about this game is Tails. The little multiplayer thing, not even multiplayer, the little multi-character thing slows down the game so much, and I feel like this game isn't like bad, and it's bad, but it's like, Tails makes this game a lot worse than it would be originally. Next is Sonic Lost World. Now, this game, it had many levels, so length was not really a problem. The worst of this game came at the hands of the infamous run button. Now, why is there a run button in a Sonic game? Can someone explain to me how that makes sense? It really doesn't, and I'm not gonna include parkour in this because you can just get good at the parkour. Why is there a button to run in a Sonic game? He should always do that by default. Next is Sonic Boom. Next is Sonic Mania. Now, for such a perfect classic Sonic game that even I enjoyed, it does have its fair share of worst part. And god, there's a few zones that might have been a skill issue, but for me, the worst part about this game gotta be the Flying Battery Zone, or Titanic Monarch, but good lord, I am playing Sonic Mania on my vacation, and this zone has been beating my ass, I'm not even gonna lie. And I'm also playing on my Switch, so there's also that, but oh my god, Flying Battery. Next is Sonic Forces. You know, for a game that had arguably the most beautiful landscape in a Sonic game, everything else is subpar. At least, but you know what? I'll just say it. Why is Classic Sonic in this game? Now, before you answer the question, Sonic Mania, did you not finish the game? Actually, I did, on my vacation, after getting like 5 game overs in Flying Battery Zone alone. Anyway, I don't know, I just don't feel like Classic Sonic, like, it just felt like a lazy way to get more people to buy the game, but really though, there's like literally 2D shadow levels in this game, so why not just add 2D sections to Sonic? Or even better, perhaps instead of Classic Sonic, they should have expanded the levels they already had for Sonic and the fella, yeah, him. Next is Sonic Frontiers. Now, I know what you're thinking. This will definitely involve Chaos Island. And yes, the worst part about this game is indeed in Chaos Island. But I can't say Chaos Island as a whole is the worst part of this game when this exists. So we gotta go somewhere more specific. And I'm looking at you, 2D sections of Chaos Island. These sections suck, and they are rampant in Chaos Island. They come out of nowhere, and lo and behold, you get stuck in one, and now you have to stay there until you complete it. Next, Sonic Superstars. Now, there are bosses I really enjoy this game, so I can't really say that bosses in general are the worst part about this game, so instead, I'll pick one that is also very difficult because this game has some really bad boss fights, some very challenging ones as well, but challenge doesn't mean that is bad specifically. That is why we are putting you. You are the worst part about this game. This specific fight is so bad. That is all. Next is Sonic X Shadow Generations, also known as Shadow Generations. Now this one, it's very difficult because the game just recently came out, so finding something good this early on is going to be a little bit difficult. But from the one playthrough that I had on this game, the worst part about the whole thing was the fact that you had to go all the way to the boss door, and after you go to the boss door, that's what unlocks the challenges for the levels that you have to do, and then after that, you gotta go all the way back to the boss door. I'm sure you can fast travel, but it's kind of annoying and more of a hassle. And you could also argue about this game's length being a little too short, but in my opinion, it's literally longer than Sonic Generations itself, and part of that is because of the open zone and all the different ways that you can complete the game. But like, damn, the length wasn't even that bad. Name one bad thing about this game. The fact that it ended, I guess that could be the worst part. Can we consider that the worst part? It ending? The game ending? Is that the worst part of the game? I believe so. Like, in all seriousness, I literally spent the entire playthrough trying to find something I didn't like, and I really liked everything. Maybe the Radical Highway Act 2, that one was a little challenging, but that was literally a skill issue because I had just gotten the Chaos Wings. So I guess, like, I'm second guessing myself what the worst thing about this game is, and I just can't figure it out. I cannot figure it out. So I believe that we will leave off Shadow Generations. The worst part about that game is the fact that it ended. Like, let me know what you guys believe is the worst part about Shadow Generations, because, like, I am completely blinded by recency bias, so, like, anything that is a flaw, my eyes cannot see. And with that, that is the worst part about every Sonic game. Let me know if you disagree or completely agree with my list, and if you do disagree, let me know what you would change in the comments down below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more content, and see you guys next time.